So, okay, imagine this. You're sitting at your desk, just trying to hit a deadline, when your boss suddenly initiates a company-wide emergency lockdown.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, he literally calls it DEFCON 20. And he forces you and this select group of your coworkers to just abandon your tasks, run into this windowless conference room, and hide.
Right.
So your heart is pounding, right? You are bracing for some catastrophic corporate crisis. And then he reveals the actual emergency. His ex-girlfriend is standing in the lobby.
I mean, it is the exact moment an organizational chart just bursts into flames.
Completely. And welcome to today's deep dive, by the way. If you've ever looked at a corporate hierarchy, those neat little boxes connected by solid black lines, and wondered how quickly human nature could just completely dismantle it, well, you are in the right place.
You really are.
Our mission today is to unpack this genuinely wild case study document. It's titled Office Politics and Personal Perils. And our sources today are this stack of highly detailed workplace records covering just about everything. I mean, we're talking corporate whistleblower hunts, romantic entanglements.
Literal martial arts dojo fights.
Yes, dojo fights on company time. It's insane.
It really is.
Mhm.
And, on the surface, these records read like an absurdist comedy. But if you look closely, this document actually offers a brilliant, albeit very extreme masterclass in organizational psychology.
Totally.
By dissecting these interpersonal disasters, we can really uncover the hidden power dynamics and structural vulnerabilities that exist in almost every modern workplace.
Okay, so let's unpack this by starting where, so much workplace dysfunction originates. The total collapse of the boundary between your personal life and company time.
Right, boundary permeability.
Exactly. So I was going through the records about this branch manager, Michael, and his ex-partner, Jan. She shows up unannounced because he's basically been dodging her voicemails. And his immediate response is to initiate that lockdown we just talked about.
The DEFCON situation.
Right. But he initially calls it Pam DEFCON 10,
Right.
and then that escalates very quickly to 20. And he rounds up the female staff. So we're talking Phyllis, Angela, Karen, and he even designates Meredith as an, quote, alternate.
An alternate, wow.
Yeah. He drafts them into this secret advisory council, basically, to figure out if he should get back together with John.
See, what stands out to me here isn't just the misuse of crisis terminology, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's the blatant extraction of emotional labor.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, he is taking employees whose actual job it is to sell paper or, manage accounting and forcing them to function as his personal relationship therapist.
Oh, wait, let me play devil's advocate for a second here. Because we hear all the time in modern management seminars, vulnerability is a superpower. Wouldn't opening up to his staff and asking for advice actually make him seem, I don't know, more human, more approachable?
Well, no, because there is a massive psychological difference between professional vulnerability and emotional extortion.
Emotional extortion. Okay, I like that.
Right, because professional vulnerability is admitting you don't have all the answers to, say, a market problem. What Michael is doing is called boundary permeability failure. He's taking his own personal anxiety and just offloading it directly onto his subordinates.
And the crazy part is, the staff actually rises to the occasion. They give him very sound, logical advice.
They do.
They remind him that the relationship was terrible, that she made him do things he didn't want to do. And they urge him, stay strong, reject her.
And he agrees with them at first.
He totally agrees. He gets all pumped up. He marches out of the conference room to tell her it's over. And then the second he sees her, he instantly caves. He just throws all of their emotional labor directly into the garbage.
Yeah, and his justification is just unbelievable.
Oh my gosh, yes. Tell them.
He admits to the camera, or the record, I should say, that she had a boob enhancement.
Yep.
And he acknowledges that getting back together just for that would be, shallow. So he justifies it by claiming this physical change is, quote, emotionally magnificent.
Emotionally magnificent? I mean, what?
It is a textbook example of cognitive dissonance. He knows it's a terrible decision. His staff just confirmed it's a terrible decision. So he invents this nonsensical emotional framework to justify what is a purely physical impulse.
Right. And, if you're a listener who has ever had a manager overshare or drag you into their personal drama, you know exactly how uncomfortable this is. But this case study shows the actual psychological math of why it destroys leadership. I mean, by elevating his staff to personal confidants out of sheer desperation, doesn't he just instantly nuke any managerial authority he has left?
Oh, absolutely. Because authority relies on a certain degree of professional distance. When a boss sacrifices that distance to seek personal validation from their subordinates, the hierarchy completely crumbles.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You simply cannot demand a professional respect from the exact same people you just begged for emotional rescue 5 minutes ago.
Yeah.
He basically demonstrated that the organizational chart is meaningless the moment he feels insecure.
So if verbal authority fails and professional boundaries are shattered, what fills that vacuum? Paranoia.
Oh, yeah.
Which transitions us perfectly into the records regarding the whistleblower investigation.
Right, because this is where the structural failure of the office becomes truly systemic.
So here's the setup. Someone leaked a story to the press about a printer fire test, basically exposing that the company's printers occasionally catch on fire. The corporate office is furious, obviously, and the local branch just descends into this frantic, paranoid witch hunt to find the snitch.
And they turn on everyone.
Everyone. They accuse Andy, they interrogate Jim simply because his old roommate works in the news. Even though Jim points out they only talked about like sports and kids and the economy. They accuse Gabe, they accuse Angelo. It's just everyone is an enemy.
And amidst this high-stakes, hyper-paranoid blame game, we really have to look at the role of Nick, the IT guy.
Okay, yes. Here's where it gets really interesting. So Nick tries to make a simple, polite announcement to the office. He's leaving the company. He's joining Teach for America to go to Detroit and teach inner-city kids about computers.
Which is very noble.
Very noble. But the staff's reaction is brutal. They completely ignore his announcement. They can't even remember his name. They're guessing things like Shadow or G or Lurch.
It's a fascinating phenomenon known as structural invisibility.
Structural invisibility.
Yes. They systematically erase his identity because they view him strictly as a utility, like a light switch or a router. He's not a person to them.
Wow. And someone even tells them they preferred the previous IT guy, Sadiq, simply because he kept to himself. And then casually mentions they suspected Sadiq was a terrorist.
Which is just wow.
Right, and to top it off, they openly mock Nick's career move, telling him he's wasting his life because kids only use computers for games and porn.
Yeah, they are berating the person they perceive to be at the absolute bottom of their social hierarchy. But what they fundamentally misunderstand is the actual architecture of their own environment. Nick operates the panopticon.
Okay, hold on. The panopticon. I've heard that term thrown around in, like, college philosophy classes, but explain it to me like I'm 5. How does an 18th century concept relate to a guy fixing the office Wi-Fi?
Okay, so it's an architectural concept created by Jeremy Bentham. Imagine a circular prison with a watchtower in the exact center. The guard in the tower can see into every single cell, but the prisoners can't see into the tower. Because the prisoners never know exactly when they're being watched, they have to assume they're being watched all the time, right?
Oh, so they regulate their own behavior.
Exactly. In the modern workplace, the IT department is the watchtower. The staff thought they were on top of the social hierarchy, totally oblivious to the fact that Nick controls the digital hierarchy.
I love that. It's like the central nervous system of a body. You ignore it completely until it decides to stop sending signals to your limbs, and then you quickly realize who is actually running the organism, because Nick finally snaps.
He does. And he doesn't yell or throw things.
No, he simply weaponizes their data. He reveals that one employee isn't really a photographer and writes creepy emails to their stepson. He calls out Daryl, who's been lying to everyone about not having a Facebook account just to avoid being friends with them.
He dismantles their carefully curated social facades in a matter of seconds. It really highlights the massive information asymmetry in the office.
And then, the ultimate mic drop. While everyone is pointing fingers and tearing each other apart over the printer fire leak, Nick calmly identifies the exact whistleblower. Yeah. He saw the email to the editor and a QuickTime movie of the printer fire sitting right on the leaker's hard drive. He had the definitive answer the entire time, but because they treated him like furniture, they just never thought to ask him.
Which raises such a crucial point for anyone listening, right? Power in a modern organization rarely aligns perfectly with the official org chart. Real power often resides with the people who control the flow of information.
So true. So, okay, we've seen professional boundaries collapse into personal chaos. We've seen digital exposure completely ruin whatever verbal authority people had left.
Right.
When an organization strips away its structural integrity, its moral authority, and its digital privacy, what tools does a manager even have left to enforce order?
Well, that is the dangerous tipping point. When cognitive and structural tools fail, humans regress. They revert to the most primal form of conflict resolution.
Physical dominance.
Exactly.
And The records highlight two very specific, bizarre physical incidents that illustrate this regression perfectly. First, there's the dojo fight.
Oh, the dojo fight.
Yeah. So Michael and his subordinate, Dwight, get into this petty verbal argument about martial arts, specifically whether a sucker punch beats a samurai defense. And to settle this, Michael extends the entire office's lunch hour so they can all drive to a local martial arts dojo and watch them fight.
And we really have to contextualize this, because the records note that a rival corporate branch in Albany is actively working straight through their lunch hour to prevent downsizing.
Oh, right.
Albany's fighting for their economic survival, while Michael's branch is taking a field trip to a strip mall dojo.
It's just wild. And the rules they set for this fight are hilarious, but also very telling. Official rules state that clean strikes to the chest, stomach, or kidneys earn a point, first to 3 wins. But then they agree to street rules, which specifically dictate no kicks to the groin, and inexplicably being home for dinner.
Home for dinner?
Right. And of course, the fight instantly devolves into screaming, flailing, and someone trying to pull down the other guy's pants, resulting in the phrase, points for pants.
Which is a complete simulacrum of violence. They want the aesthetic of a gladiator battle to resolve their status dispute,
Yeah.
but they lack any actual physical discipline, so it just becomes a schoolyard brawl.
Yeah.
And the danger here is that this childish posturing normalizes physical contact as a means of dispute resolution, which sets a very dangerous precedent for the second, much more severe incident.
Right. Okay, let's talk about the nephew. So Michael hires his adult nephew, Luke, as an assistant. And Luke is wildly insubordinate. During a meeting where the staff is trying to set up their email accounts, Luke is literally running around shining a laser pointer directly at his coworkers.
Yeah, the records detail him targeting Oscar's head, Angela's chest, and literally shining it directly into someone's eyeball.
I mean, this is no longer just annoying. It is a major workplace safety and harassment issue occurring in plain sight. So Michael tries to use what little verbal authority he has left-right. He counts down from 5, demanding Luke hand over the laser pointer. Luke flat out refuses and mocks him. So Michael's response to this insubordination, he physically grabs his adult nephew, bends him over his knee, and violently spanks him in front of the entire staff.
Which is what organizational psychologists call a status threat response.
Okay, unpack that.
Well, Michael's authority was publicly challenged. And because he lacks the intellectual capacity to manage the insubordination through, say, write-ups or termination, his brain defaults to the lowest evolutionary rung, brute force.
And what's terrifying to me is how the office reacts to this, because the staff is initially shocked, but then some of them actually praise the assault. They literally start calling it Texas justice, and someone even unironically brings up capital punishment.
Which really just shows you how completely warped their internal moral compass had become. To be clear, we are just impartially reporting what's in the document here, but they aren't looking at this as a massive liability or an HR violation. They are categorizing it as frontier justice.
Exactly. Because when leadership normalizes chaos, the employees adapt their worldview to survive in it. But what is truly staggering is Michael's complete inability to understand why physical assault is inappropriate in a corporate setting.
Right.
When he's confronted later, he defends himself by comparing his branch to the Ringling Brothers circus.
Yes. He essentially argues that, well, family businesses are hard, and if the circus can make a family dynamic work town after town, he should be able to as well.
It is a breathtaking disconnect from reality. He is desperately trying to map a patriarchal family discipline dynamic onto a regional paper supply company, simply because he has completely exhausted his corporate management toolkit. Okay, so this brings us to the final and perhaps most cynical piece